have to take 30 years. And to illustrate that, let me tell you a story about Terry. Terry was a gentleman I worked with. I worked in the union shop at that time. We were in the Plumbers and Pipe Fitters Union, and Terry we did heating and cooling and plumbing. He was more of an HVAC guy, but he could help out on the surface plumbing side. He came up with a statement one day, he's like, I like HVAC, no, I like plumbing a heck of a lot better than I like air conditioning, because when I'm done, I can tell whether or not the plumbing's leaking. He had another statement one day, he's like, I don't like this certain brand of equipment because I can't ever find a red button for the reset. How am I supposed to work on this if there's no reset button? He did not have much, if any, understanding. And he was in his 50s and had been doing this since he was right out of high school. He had more experience than anybody. When Terry retired, which was after I left that company, but I was still friendly with everyone that worked there, and I go to the supply house, lunch, barbecues and everything, we'd all get together and talk about old times, right? I said, hey, I heard Terry retired. And he said, yeah, Terry retired. And I said, so you guys are standing around nothing to do these days, right? And they both started cracking up laughing because they're right. Terry generated a significant amount of work for the service department due to recalls and callbacks. It was a significant issue. All comes back down to that understanding. It's not about experience, it's not about years, it's about what you understand. I have seen some guys with 5 years of experience in the field completely stomping over people with 40 years of experience in the field. Absolutely. So that's why we're talking about this. Now, I want to get your gears turning in this direction. We're going to continue referring back to this over and over again. So don't be afraid. We're actually going to get hands dirty a little bit today and get to do some stuff. We got to cover these ground basics first. Because that's the foundation upon which everything else that you do is built upon. That's why we're talking about it. So, 9 forms of energy, they all follow some basic rules. These are also known as the laws of thermodynamics. People go to school for decades to learn and study these, build careers off of it. We don't need to know all that much about it, but we do need to know something. One of the most important ones is that energy cannot be created or destroyed. Energy cannot be created or destroyed. It can only do some of these other things. We'll talk about in a minute. Energy can be transformed from one form into another. That's where we butter our bread right there.
Isn't there also a word for that too? From transferring energy from one form to another? Isn't there a scientific word for that?
Probably, but I slept through that one. Energy can be stored and released. Who said potential energy earlier? Put a little asterisk next to that. We're going to come back to that and talk about potential energy in just a minute. Energy can be stored and released. Number 4, energy can be moved from one place
5?
Yeah.
Place. Energy moves from a place of surplus.
No, I'm saying, is that number 5 and the basic energy law?
Yeah, we can call that number 5, but kind of more like a subsidiary law. It might be called 4A, for example. It's related to law number 4. Energy moves from a place of surplus to a place of deficit. One way we can think about that is if we have a tank of water that's this full, and another tank of water that is this full. There's a pipe connecting the bottom of the 2 tanks with a ball valve in between. When the ball valve is closed, we have water at a higher level here than we have here. When we open the valve, what will happen?
You will travel to the least resistance.
This will come down, this will come up. There's more energy here than there is here. Energy will move from here to here. What am I in energy? What's just water moving, man? No.
Gravity.
Motion, energy, movement, powered by gravity. You betcha.
I think you get physics and you talk about mass too.
So these two are going to end up at the same level until they're equal. It's always a balancing act. Energy, in fact, is always moving, sometimes subtly, sometimes gently. But energy moves in the substances that it's in. It needs a vehicle, like water, for example. It doesn't always just move all by itself. Sometimes it does, but usually it needs a vehicle. And the things that we deal with most commonly, we're dealing with the vehicles that transport that energy or deliver that energy, right? That's what we're typically dealing with. The laws of energy, these 5 rough basic laws apply. We need to know them and understand them.
And with that, would be more basically gravity.
Yeah, gravity is the force. Gravity is the basic energy behind that. Gravity is being transformed into motion. Right then and there. And right there, when the valve is closed and I have 2 different levels of water, now I have stored energy. Just like right here, I have stored energy in this marker. I put work into lifting this up and holding it up. I'm storing that energy in there. This marker has that energy within it. Because what is actually going to move? I release that energy all at once. The earth and the marker. That's right, the marker is going to move. Are you sure? Just check to make sure. Yeah, it still works. Okay.
Mic drop.
You can rely on that. You can rely on that. Energy cannot be created or destroyed. I cannot generate more energy. I cannot generate energy at all. The power generation plant, the generator, does not generate energy. It simply transforms one form of energy into another form of energy. I didn't really fully become to appreciate this stuff until I started working in solar power. I've always been kind of a green energy conservationist kind of dude, right? Always into high efficiency, high SEER air conditioners and 90 plus furnaces. I always thought that stuff was awesome. Insulating and sealing and studying all this stuff. It's cool. So I decided I wanted to get into solar energy. And I did. I went to school for it, put myself through school. I got certified through the national, NAPSEP, I can't remember what the name is. National Association of Certified Energy Practitioners or something like that. It's a solar kind of thing. And I was forced to study electricity very closely in a way that I had never done before. When you think about electricity and a quantity of electricity, how do you quantify electricity? You can quantify gasoline as an energy source. If this was gasoline, I could pour it, I can weigh it, I can measure its volume, I can look at it, I can touch it, I can feel it, I can smell it, I can even taste it. Which I don't recommend. But you can. You can't do that with energy, can you? So suddenly here I am forced to start thinking about quantities of energy. Because when you plug something into the wall, how much energy do you have available to you at that outlet or at that tap? Some of my electricians tell me, how much available energy do I have available in that panel right there?
I like it. Whatever it's rated for, but it's almost limitless.
That's what I'm going for, right? Pretty much all of it. If you want all of it from the utility company, it's going to come. It's going to come. So from our perspective as consumers of electricity primarily, which is what most people are, electricity is limitless in supply. But that is just the way it appears. That's not really true. When you're suddenly responsible for designing a system that's going to supply a specific amount of energy for a specific requirement that has a very finite resource, suddenly the idea of quantity of electricity becomes a lot more obvious. When you're trying to size a generator, for example, now suddenly you recognize that I need to supply a quantity of energy. Think about a generator for a second. Think about a gas power generator. If you want to think about a big Kubota, giant outside the building generator with a stand on the top of a 200-gallon diesel tank, or if you want to think about a little Honda that you buy down at Home Depot, either one is the same thing. What is the source of energy that creates the electricity then?
Gas.
Fuel. Yeah, fuel. That's where it first comes from, isn't it? The fuel is transformed into electrical energy through what process?
Combustion.
So fuel being burned, which is transformed into motion. Something has to move. That motion in the generator. We'll talk about this later, but that's transmitted into magnetism. That then is transmitted into energy. There are at least 4 different energy transformations taking place inside of that generator. Then that electricity now is able to move from one place to another. Move it down the line and deliver it to another device, which is going to take that electrical energy and convert it into something else. Such as what can we convert electricity into?
Light energy.
Light. Good. Next.
Heat.
Heat. Yes. Next.
Sound.
Sound. Yes. Next.
Refrigeration.
Refrigeration. We're using a work process to move energy yet again. That's what a refrigeration process is. We're moving energy from one place to another through a work process generally driven by electricity. Absolutely. We can transform electricity into magnetism.
Nuclear.
Nuclear radio, different thing. But man, isn't it interesting to notice that we said that the basic definition of energy is a force that can be transformed or applied to perform useful work, right? Did you happen to notice that those forms of useful work that we just mentioned are other forms of energy? Yeah, they just happen to be the form of energy that we prefer right now. Normally, we're talking about moving something somewhere, generating light or heat. Those are our 3 most basic needs. Transportation, heat, and light, which comes into shelter. Man, we're into the basic needs of humanity again, aren't we? Whew, he's happening. Cool. Cool. Electricity is a tough one because you can't see it, but it's really cool because it unifies all of us. As we said earlier, some of us are primarily plumbers, some of us are primarily electricians, some of us are primarily HVAC, but electricity touches all of us. Hopefully in a good way. Hopefully not in a bad way, because electricity can be dangerous. Electricity is a form of energy. But I started to become really more appreciative of this when I started working in solar, and I had to deal with sizing and designing a solar power system supply, factoring in the angle of the sun, the angle of the roof, all these other weather factors to produce a specific quantity